Hiya everyone, it's Luke here, that conscious living guy, and today's video is going to be in two parts. So the first part is going to be the first part of a documentary that I was part of in way back in 2007, and I travelled with a large group of people as well as young people, and we travelled from Hull in Yorkshire all the way to Sierra Leone in Africa. And we did this because it was a celebration, to be honest, of the abolishment of slavery, and also to raise awareness because slavery is still going on in a large parts of Africa, probably even in the UK as well. You've probably heard of human trafficking, modern day slavery. You know, people being forced to work in horrific conditions, and I'm sharing this documentary now because I feel like it's the perfect time with the Black Lives Matter movement, as well as the documentary that's been put up on Netflix about Jeffrey Einstein, and a lot of obviously human trafficking that's happening in America as well. That's going to come to light very soon, I believe. Although I really don't like the guy, Donald Trump is sorting out this kind of network of people that just are abusing young people for sex, and it's just really unacceptable. So I just wanted to share it with everyone. I don't believe it is on YouTube at all. It is on Vimeo, if you're aware of that platform. I thought I'd bring it to YouTube. The second part of this, I was going to do it as a full documentary, but it is really long. It's about an hour long. So I thought that I'd do it in two parts, and the second part is most probably going to be uploaded in the next couple of days anyway. So I'll stop waffling on now and go get yourself a cup of tea and watch the first part. It's really good.
This is a story about 24 ordinary people. They are on an extraordinary mission to fight modern-day slavery.
Well, in comparison, we're selfish and we're spoiled and we take things for granted.
They are donating 5 4x4 cars to anti-trafficking organisations in Sierra Leone in West Africa.
Transportation is so difficult to get around this area.
But first, they have to drive 5,000 miles from Hull in Britain across the Sahara to Freetown in Sierra Leone.
It's a bit more of a dig-out job, I think.
My name is Claudia van Planta. I'm a documentary filmmaker. I'm preparing for a rather unusual new project. It's about an ordinary guy with a big idea.
I was inspired to start the whole Freedom Trail because I wanted to do something practical about this issue of modern-day slavery.
I want to see firsthand what happens when Jonathan and his team leave their comfort zone in Britain and plunge into the unknown challenges of Africa.
I've never been to Africa. I've never been away from my family for a month, so I'm quite apprehensive about what lies ahead.
I'm very happy to follow Jonathan because I'm curious to find out whether an ordinary guy like him will succeed in realising his vision.
I've got to be down in the city centre in half an hour, and I haven't packed my bags. I haven't counted my underpants or anything like that. No, I just need to get my bag and I just need to pack it. Vitamins, toothbrush.
Is that really all the pants you're taking?
Ian's only taken 6 pairs.
Well, you must have very good personal hygiene.
My name's Ian, I'm a barman in Hull. I'm quite surprised about the group. It's like there's loads of different people who I wouldn't really have normally talk to, so I'm looking forward to get to know each other and listen to the stories and that.
Hi, my name is Michaela. I like to be called Kayla. if possible. I'm 18 years old. I used to be a hairdresser, but I quit 'cause it was really boring, so I'm a rock and roll doll. This is the bag. Last year I was an alcoholic. I was really bad on it, but I got out of it. I moved off the estate. I went and lived with one of my friends. I couldn't handle it no more. And that's my brother, taking him with me. Gets into trouble quite a lot, so I'm just worried about that. I don't want him getting in trouble while I'm away.
I'm Becca. I'm actually currently unemployed. I'm actually trying to decide what I want to do with my life. My main reason for wanting to go to Africa is that my younger brother recently passed away. He was only very young, and it made me realise that you never know how long you have to see your potential and to fulfil your dreams. Basically, I'd like to make up for what he isn't going to get to do.
No second thoughts?
No. I'm hoping to just make a difference to some of the children's lives who are going to be meeting.
They force me for thief, they force me for do all kind of bad thing, force me for kill.
I go on the street as 12 years old. I do prostitute business 2 years.
In 2000, at the end of the civil war in Sierra Leone, I filmed testimonies of former child soldiers and child sex slaves.
This one, it can make boom, boom, boom.
I was living here as a prostitute about 8 years. I was here at 8 years old, and I used to sleep in one of the market tables in this place.
Abused and traumatized children like these will directly benefit from the whole Freedom Trail initiative. It aims to support charities like the St. George Foundation, a shelter for street children.
We are giving these children life back again. We are giving them hope. We are giving them their self-esteem and self-respect. They've never experienced love. They've never experienced hope. That's what we need as human beings.
In Africa, there are so many suffering children, and I don't want to see my children suffer in that way, and I don't think it's right for other people's children to suffer in that way.
Senegal, Sierra Leone. I haven't got a map for Europe, that's the only thing.
Stress.
I had to drive over the Sahara.
Stress Daddy should be the title of this.
I've got to admit, I've got no experience in this whatsoever, so it remains to be seen what the future holds.
Whiskey?
You don't even drink.
I know, it's for bribes. They've been told to take whiskey for bribes. I just arrived at Victoria Square, where we're going to depart from, and there's a bit of an event. We're just going to get the cars arranged on display in the centre of town so that everybody can see what's going on. Here we go.
I'm always the one who's late. I was early today.
On this timetable, which bit of 12:15 didn't you understand?
Yeah. As expected, mate.
He came in the wrong way from the wrong way. 2 hours late. Is this just going to be the way it is, or what?
My name's Mike James. What I bring to the trip is the experience of travelling in these African countries. So basically to get everybody safe and sound to Freetown, the vehicles, the people, the whole lot. Passport?
We're going to meet all the people who have funded the Freedom Trail and say nice thank you things.
Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, what can I say? These people, they deserve medals as big as dustbin lids, don't they?
At last we are off. We are taking the 5 cars across the North Sea to the Netherlands. From there we will drive south to Spain, where we will get the ferry to Morocco. Here we will follow the African coast through the Sahara Desert, Mauritania, Senegal, inland through the Guinea jungle, before crossing into Sierra Leone and finally delivering the cars to Freetown. It's a journey of over 5,000 miles and it is supposed to take 3 weeks. During that time, I will try to get to know the team.
Bingo!
The team is a group of friends and colleagues and acquaintances who have come together, who have the necessary time and the energy to give to this.
Are we there yet?
On the other hand, we've got 6 young people who are coming with us. Some of them have never been out of the country at all in their life. We wanted them to come and share the experience with us and see what we see firsthand.
Didn't like the travel here. Hated it. I was more nervous than anything else. But I'm fine now. Now we're on and we've gone. Can't exactly swim back, can we?
Day 2, and we are all anxious to head off. Alison Olner is getting car 5 into shape before the long drive.
I was asked to come for my medical skills. I'm a paramedic, I work in Hull, and they needed some medical support for the trip.
This is the sporty team, I get the impression.
No, do I look sporty? Do I look sporty? You'll mistake me for someone else. This is the camel approach. If we get stuck in the desert, I'll be okay. All these thin people, they'll be the first to go.
My name's Mark. I'm a foster carer, but I'm a former engineer, and I've been a car enthusiast for as long as I can remember. What I want to get out of the trip is a fantastic opportunity to see Africa as it is, and have a brilliant adventure, and also do a little bit of good in the world at the same time.
What a miserable morning. With 550 miles to cover today, it's a relief to be on the move.
Here we go, here's the man. He's looking at you, Claudio. He's going to go, I'll shoot him. Thank you.
Don't make a picture.
Oh, okay. First of all, that was pretty straightforward, wasn't it?
We are into the Netherlands with no trouble. We know that crossing the borders in Africa will not be so easy.
It sort of feels vaguely familiar, a bit like a holiday, you know, and I can imagine my mother-in-law sat with a map on her knee, ordering us to stop at certain places, but now we're not going to come back this way. That's the kind of the weird thing, and we're not going to come back in this car.
At the rear of the convoy, in car 5, is the safety team with Mark, Alison and her fireman husband John.
So far so good, I think. We're really having to travel quite quick and put a lot of hours in, and just to try and keep on schedule. But I think so far so good. I think that's the expression I'd use.
The plan is to reach the southern tip of Spain by the end of tomorrow. It means some serious driving.
1,500 miles in 2 days.
It's too far. It's far too far in the back of there. There's no room, no room.
Day 3, and in Spain we meet up with our insurance policy. It's called Goliath. It's a heavily customized lorry owned by Steve Tong.
I think we can almost cope with any difficulty and hopefully try and get all the vehicles and all the people to Sierra Leone safely and in one piece.
Are you coping all right? Okay?
The charities in Sierra Leone that are getting the cars have arranged a celebration in 3 weeks' time. But despite 2 very long days, we are already behind schedule. Ex-policeman Bas Blackburn, the leader of the Rotary team, who sponsored one of the cars, is in need of refreshment.
It's just a little bit edgy tonight, I think. We need to sleep. Too late starting, too late finishing. A minute lost is a mile lost.
Day 4. The team is exhausted by a really late night.
I've just got up. I'm sleeping.
Oh, you sleep all right?
Lovely.
I like about 11 hours a night, and I'm just not getting it.
There's a lot of slippage going on. I don't have a problem with that. I can account for my time when I get back to the UK. That's not a problem. I would suggest we shouldn't take the rewards until we've done the work. We're always first out here, we've loaded and we're away, except we're not.
I can't get to bed at 2 and crack on at 7. I just can't do it, you know, and especially eating really, really late. You know, if I get up at 4 in the morning, I'll get up at 4 in the morning, but I've got to get to bed at 9 or 8 or whatever. That's the thing.
You know, this is not a package holiday, and we need to sort of just get past that in our head. If we're late into Freetown, some of us will miss a handing over ceremony. We'll literally arrive and fly out the same day, potentially.
Let's get on with it. We're already slipping this morning. We're having a chat here in the sunshine when we've got hours and hours and hours of driving to do. End of story. I don't want to be the leader, don't get me wrong, but we need strong leadership. Otherwise we'll waste time.
Well, we always kind of set this up as a democracy. And it's interesting that people are not always comfortable with that.
Not long into the day, and in car 5, the mechanic has fallen out with the safety crew.
How is it going so far?
My experience so far, lousy really. I'm looking to maybe get a flight home from Malaga at the moment.
He drove off the road towards a crash barrier. It was just a lapse of concentration, which happened to everybody, and we sort of shouted at him, Mark, you know, Mark, what the hell, what are you doing, you know? He saw red, and he slammed his brakes on and got into the hard shoulder and got out of the car and sort of said, you know, I've got my passport, you know, see you later.
The hard shoulder, it wasn't a typical hard shoulder that we have at home, and they're, you know, the most dangerous place to be on the motorway anyway. And we felt extremely vulnerable.
Why do you want to go?
Well, came to drive. I'm not driving. I'm getting the crumbs off of the other driver's table. When I do drive, they're not happy. They're going to divvy up the driving to suit themselves, not to suit me. Every time I get behind the wheel, they don't like it. They think their personal safety is threatened.
You know, they're two people who, paramedics and firemen, who see these accidents all the time and can picture the situation, can't they?
I've been a truck driver. I've passed many accidents, either which were fatal or could have been fatal. I know the score.
We've scraped up bodies from hard shoulders. It's not the place to be. It is not the place to stop unless you are broken down, and then everybody gets out of the car. You know, it's not the place to slam your brake on, and it was too much, really.
Well, we have options, don't we? We can move people around.
So you're either the lead driver or you're not the lead driver, and clearly I am not. And yeah, I'm not particularly happy about that.
Jonathan moves Mark to a different car and we press on. He appears uncomfortable with this part of his role as team leader.
I think the biggest problem is I'm not quite sure how to handle it.
Somehow we're going to try and bring Mark round to recognising that other people are going to have issues. He's the first one to come up with an issue. It's going to happen with others as well.
I just hate it all. I just can't stand it. I just don't feel like...
Shame for anyone to go home. It's too early to say that.
He's got 6 driving tests, he does HGV driving, he's driven for years off-road. It's not like he's inexperienced or anything. I think he was just tired, and the oldness felt at peril. They thought they were going to die.
Just give him a few too many beers tonight, it should be all right.
Nice for done, yeah.
So what's your assessment of the day?
Lousy. Ready for my bed. I need to do this beer some justice first. I also have a bottle of single malt. It depends what happens after the beer.
Day 5, and we are on the ferry across the Gibraltar Straits. There is a feeling of anticipation. We are leaving Europe behind, and our real adventure is finally beginning.
We're going from one continent to another, and another life, another lifestyle, it's just completely different, and it's just a short ferry ride away.
Sammy, tell me, how does it feel? Leave Europe, get to Africa.
It really is a dream come true. I've been wanting to come to Africa for about 3 years now.
I'm gonna like it when we get into a little bit more of a different scenery.
Even Mark seems in better spirits.
Planning ahead. It's good to see that you decided to come along, despite the little wobble yesterday.
Yeah, I'm getting lots of thumbs ups and things. It's but there's still the get out of jail free card in Marrakesh.
It's probably unavoidable with a big group like that there are kind of tensions happening.
Yes, I think
guess it's not so surprising.
part of the problem is that everyone's an expert, and I think that's probably part of the problem, really.
We are back on dry land and can continue our journey. In the next few days, we will reach the first true physical challenge of the trip. We have to cross the Sahara. In Arabic, its name means Great Desert, and with a total area larger than Australia, that's no exaggeration. We will stick to the Atlantic coast as much as we can, through Western Sahara to the border of Mauritania. There we must cross 20 miles of no man's land riddled with landmines before we reach Madibu. From here, our route will take us inland into the desert. First, though, we are visiting a charity in Casablanca.
And I'm glad we have an opportunity to break the road journey and have insights into local humanitarian organizations.
We are visiting a shelter for single women with babies. Most of them come from poor families and were sexually abused while doing domestic jobs. The Islamic traditions in conservative communities of Morocco puts these women at risk of being rejected or even killed by their own family members.
Si nous avons ouvert ce centre, c'est parce que nous ne voulons pas qu'il y ait des accidents et des déchirements de famille.
This 17-year-old girl walked into the center during our visit. She is still at school, but is 3 months pregnant.
Personne n'est au courant qu'elle est enceinte dans la famille. Il n'y a que sa tante, sa mère et elle. Mais si le père sait que sa fille est enceinte, il va divorcer la maman, il va la battre, il va peut-être la tuer, il va je ne sais pas quoi.
The mother and the aunt, are they not afraid that that there'll be repercussions on them because they're keeping this secret?
Le secret ne va pas se dévoiler. Mais là, si les gens savent qu'elle est enceinte, c'est fini, plus personne ne veut d'elle.
Despite the positive work in this shelter, the experience triggers painful memories for Rebecca.
I started doubting everybody in my life when I was 6 years old. When I first found drugs in my mum's house. And the first few times I saw my mum taking drugs, when she'd take me to her dealers' houses and tell me to keep watching the TV because I wasn't allowed to see what she was doing. And obviously you're a kid and you turn your head or something and you see things that you don't want to. And then because of the drugs, she gave me away practically and my younger brother. And then I found out that my little brother had died and it's like, well, you know, is it the people's fault who my mum trusted my brother with, or I don't know.
What happened to your younger brother?
It was a car accident.
We are now entering Western Sahara, a former Spanish colony invaded by Morocco in 1975. The Moroccan flag is everywhere in an attempt to legitimize the occupation. There is a highly visible military presence and we pass through frequent checkpoints.
No another checkpoint. Fortunately, we can never really film them. They're always very touchy.
Do you want me to ask?
So I better get the camera out of the way now.
Okay, behind Jonas. Okay, behind.
We are definitely in the desert now, and Andy gets a real taste of it when he pulls over to the side of the road.
Soft sand is new to me, I have to admit. But it's a classic case of just stray that little bit off this stuff here, which is really good and is nice and gritty. And this stuff here, which is just really soft and is very fluffy. And the difference between there and there is nearly axle deep in about 1.5 seconds. So four-wheel drive and low range is pretty useless then. You just dig yourself a hole. So rather than dig myself in deeper, just call someone to come pull us out and it'll take 5 minutes rather than 20. I hope, but I'm a bit embarrassed because it's the first time anyone's got stuck and it's me. Whoops. I guess I'm buying the drinks tonight. Easy as that.
Until now, I just thought this trip is two-dimensional, you know, delivering car to Sierra Leone and raise awareness about modern-day slavery. But actually, there's a third dimension to it, and you will explain me.
I thought it would be add a bit of interest to the trip to do a scientific experiment as we are travelling from Europe south down into Africa. And we're keeping a record of our toilet habits as we get further south, and in order to record it scientifically, we're using the Bristol stool chart, which is 7 categories of poo. From type 1, separate hard lumps like nuts hard to pass, all the way down to type 7, which is watery, no solid pieces, entirely liquid. Andy driving, he's streaked ahead of the pack, and Becky is lagging behind, really, lagging behind in the log. Our hypothesis is that as we get further south geographically, we'll get further south on the Bristol stool chart, and I'm pleased to say that even though it's early days, the hypothesis seems to be holding up. We seem to be moving from generally 2s and 3s to in a minute 4s, maybe 5s, so it's looking good. I hope to get published our results on toilet paper.
At the end of day 8, we reach Dakhla, where a man approaches us. He claims he can guide us through the minefields at the border between Western Sahara and Mauritania.
We have to check his credentials.
Oh, I would be wise.
If he's going to lead us through a minefield.
C'est lui qui écrit ça.
Yeah.
Depuis 2005. I would like to recommend this guide, as he has been extremely helpful all day and through the night, much beyond the normal expectation. Always willing to help in any situation on behalf of 5 teams from Plymouth Banjul Challenge 07. And then there is always the question of money.
Mike decides that Bomba's references are adequate, and for a fee of €300, he agrees to meet us tomorrow. We hope we can trust him. It's a relatively short travel day today, just 120 miles. But with 2 borders and a minefield to cross, we don't want to push our luck. The tarmac gives way to dirt track, and there is no doubt we've entered the minefield. This road seems well traveled, but hitting a mine is still a considerable risk. Only a few months ago, a French team ran into an anti-tank mine, and 1 man was killed. Our guide Bomba knows his stuff, and we make it into Mauritania without incident. The next day is a rest day, and after a week on the road, it's a welcome break. And what else to do on a rest day than hit the beach? Mauritania doesn't have a navy to patrol their coast. Therefore, unscrupulous boat owners are able to dump their old ships to collect the insurance money.
It's lots of rotting metal, lots of colour, the rust and the brown and everything, and it creates a sort of, in some ways, a photographer's paradise, but at the same time it's sort of an ugly thing to see a ship just wrecked, and what's more ugly is the fact that they're allowed to get away with it.
As we continue along the beach, we find some flimsy shacks. To our surprise, they are inhabited.
Never ever expected to find a family living there. And there was a husband and his wife and 2 girls and a baby boy, and I just couldn't believe it.
They were sitting surrounded just by flies, and you know, you could see the water they were drinking was dirty, and they just had nothing.
I'm the same age as this guy here. He's living in a wooden hut next to a shipwreck, amongst the flies and the dead fish. They're surviving, very friendly, they want to know about us. And I feel imposing. I feel as if we've brought a culture that they will never aspire to, and we're going to walk away and gloat on it. It doesn't feel right to me.
The little girl took our hand and we went to play on the sand, and we all ran around for ages, swinging around and doing loads of crazy things, and she was laughing, and I just thought, what a life, really.
One of the little girls wanted to take pictures, and she was just absolutely absorbed with the camera, and because it's digital you can just let her, because you're not wasting any money, you're not wasting any film. And some of the pictures are gorgeous, they're just absolutely amazing. There's just an innocence and a charm about the fact that she's a little 3-year-old has taken these photographs. That's a great picture. Look at that, that's fantastic. Look.
For many of us, it's the first example of the desperate poverty that affects most Africans.
Later on I was thinking about it and I thought, well, maybe it's not her that's poor, maybe it's us. Because she was happy. She didn't have a lot, but she was happy with what she had. And we have everything, but we're still never happy. So maybe it is her that's rich and us that's poor.
Tomorrow we will head into the real desert, and Mark is keen to give his advice on driving in the dunes.
To drive it like you stole it, you've got to really nail it. Momentum's king, you've got to really hammer the thing.
They're not very stable with the move racks done even on tarmac.
It's stuff that people who've played the game before are aware of, but how aware people are here, I'm not sure.
Our route will take us 150 miles inland. We'll camp there overnight before joining up with the tarmac road, which will lead to Nouakchott. Bomba prepares the vehicles for the sand.
Bomba is letting air off these tyres, and then he'll go round and let everyone down. But he's the expert, knows what he's looking for. So the shape of the tyre is really what he likes to see, so that there's plenty of squash in it. So if you're in very soft sand, you actually swim through the soft stuff, the wheels will spin, but the grip will come to you.
With the tyres deflated, it's time to venture into the desert.
That's it. The desert. On to the desert.
To the desert.
It's like driving down a beach, isn't it? In Norfolk.
Temperatures here can reach 50 degrees Celsius in the day. It's one of the most inhospitable places on the planet. To find a sheltered place to set up camp is impossible. And now it becomes obvious that we are far from civilization and from help.
I don't think this tent's going to hold. Look, it's really, really soft sand. It's really soft sand. I've got that to hold the whole tent up.
Do you think they will hold?
No. I don't at all. I'm really tempted to sleep if I can.
Oh, where's your sensible fence?
Why would you really want to camp in the desert?
As night falls, the winds drop and spirits rise.
Hey, it's Christmas pudding here, you know.
Took me hours to bake that tonight. It's been steaming for 8 hours, that.
So I've got my nutmeg sauce. Things are looking good.
I'm starting rum sauce.
Is that rum sauce?
Rum sauce, I think.
Now, this life, I can
Nutmeg
Not never
Ryan, put that roast down!
I don't want to, Mother.
He's not the Messiah, he's a very naughty boy.
So, from the top.
Just finish out.
I think this is the driest party I've ever been to, and you're all off your heads.
Don't tell anyone. They might not have any alcohol, but we do.
Looking at what's happening.
We've just woken up and watched the sun come up in the middle of the Sahara Desert, which is that is an experience of a lifetime that I might never do again. But there was 4 of us slept in this little gully here last night under the stars, and I've never seen so many stars in the skies last night.
Having survived the night, we continue across the desert to link up with the road to Nouakchott. The route takes us past tempting dunes. Some of the team can't resist putting the 4x4s through their paces. It's not long before the desert claims its first casualty.
Went over a dune, perhaps a little bit too fast, but of lack of experience, lack of skill probably on my part. Not feeling good at the moment.
And that's been bent over like that, which means this plate here has received a big whack and bent all the front of that assembly. With a few minor repairs, I'm sure it'll be all right once we've got the service crew doing their thing.
Anyway, Mark, we on. It should be finger tight anyway, Rich.
We need to watch things like that. I mean, that's probably a lesson for us all. Certainly a lesson for me anyway.
What are you doing, Steve?
Trying to help Justine's headache.
Self-inflicted, I might add.
It just happened now?
No. It's as a result of a third of a bottle of cheap wine.
And now, even veteran driver Mark finds himself at the mercy of the desert.
Allez! Allez! What's that? It's a bit more of a dig-out job, I think.
This is okay, I'm sat here, they're digging.
Good on this side. All underneath. Not yet, Mark.
Would be our car that gets stuck. Twat.
40 degrees, it's the Sahara Desert, and we're stuck.
With one car stuck, another damaged, and the sun fully overhead, Jonathan realizes it's time to move on, if they can.
It's a bit of a struggle, I have to say. First time really experienced kind of heat and the dryness, and it's like someone blowing a hot hairdryer in your face all the time. I managed to get out of this place.
Here we are, rear diff lock, très magnifique.
Day 11. We have to get our Mauritanian visas approved for the onward journey to Senegal. In the meantime, a few of us are visiting SOS Esclave, a local anti-slavery organization. Slavery has been a part of Mauritania's history for over 800 years. It was only officially abolished in 1981, and unofficially little has changed. Therefore, even today, many Mauritanians remain under the absolute control of the ruling class.
We are in the car of Biram, a campaigner for SOS Esclave. It's an anti-slavery organization, and he wants to introduce us to Talib, one of their members who has problems with slavery.
La fille de Talib a été mariée à l'âge de 15 ans au moins par ses maîtres, sans le consentement de Talib. Et nous avons combattu avec Talib jusqu'à ce que le mariage a été rompu. Mais malheureusement, le droit coutumier esclavagiste qui est en vigueur chez nous fait que la fille est toujours sous le contrôle de l'homme.
Talib was born into slavery, but escaped several years ago. Unfortunately, he didn't manage to rescue his daughter at the same time.
When do you think you're next going to see your daughter?
ما تكوني 6 الليل التالي والله القوايل ما نعرف ساعة جيتم فيها وتوه ولا لا يوقفوا لي بيلي أنا جاي له الناس الحكومة البيضان قاعدين ما شافتهم والخادم ذاك اللي موكل به هق ووكلوا به الحكومة وصبحوا له كامل مولي ممكن به إلا الخادم.
I just thought it was disgusting that people have to live in them conditions, living in huts. Only a little bit of electricity. He can't see his daughter whenever he wants. He's on his own. He didn't really eat a lot. It was really upsetting. It made me really angry as well.
Biram, tell me, how do you want to follow up the case of Talib?
Je vais faire des requêtes publiques aux autorités judiciaires, sécuritaires et administratives pour la libération de la fille de Talib. Donc l'affaire de Talib sera un point de départ d'une contestation que je vais mener dans cette région.
Back at our hostel, there's a problem. The authorities are refusing to issue our visas.
The chief of this, the chief of that wasn't working. We'll wait and see. I have a suspicion that we've been observed by people from this country, making sure that we don't kind of get into stories or stuff. Who knows?
The next day, Mike and Mark are off to try a charm offensive with the visa officials.
So hopefully by the end of today we'll all be stamped up and ready to go. But I think that's lost us a day in our itinerary. We'll be leaving for Senegal tomorrow instead of today.
Au revoir.
Jonathan and Andy as always, lead by example.
Setting a good example is probably a key leadership skill. So we're having croissants, Pringles, and I think later we're having a mariachi band come over to play a few tunes. And
there's no point in the captain of the ship kind of rushing around like a headless chicken. He's just got to project the calm image that everything is fine.
At the end of the second day in Nouakchott, there is still no result on the visa front. Plus, there is a problem with the guards who were hired to protect our vehicles.
There's an expectation that we should have paid a sum of money, and we don't think we should have paid that sum of money.
We're going to go and sit outside, so if you want to come down in half an hour, do shifts on this.
Every hour, every half an hour,
There's got to be somebody outside all the time.
Staying up all night watching the cars isn't a good prospect, but see what the next 2 hours bring, I guess. Might get a better feeling for the situation then.
Oh, it's going to be a long night. Yeah.
So as I said before, I really hope you liked the first part of the video. The second part is going to be uploaded at some point in the next couple of days. And that's all for this video. Please don't forget to smile at a stranger and treat people with kindness. And I'll catch you in the next one.